Hey everyone, it's Tanya from Fit Powerfully, and this is the 20th time I've done this video. So let me start over. It's Tanya from Fit Powerfully, and I'm here today with 10 legal essentials that you should know about and understand and be implementing in your fitness and wellness business. And this applies to all of them, regardless of whether you are a fitness studio, you do wearable tech, you're a health and wellness coach, healthy foods and snacks and drinks and all of that. Apparel, doesn't matter. These apply to you, most business owners actually, but I'm going to give some specifics for the fitness and wellness industry. But before we get into that, of course, you know, I'm going to do my legal disclaimer. All right. Nothing in this talk or the content is to be intended as or construed as being legal advice. No legal advice. This talk, the content within it, is merely for educational purposes only. Additionally, there's nothing in this talk, nothing I'm going to say, nothing I'm going to do, none of the content in this talk or by simply accessing, listening to, or engaging with would create a attorney-client relationship with myself, Tanya Fisher, or Tanya Fisher IP Law. So again, no legal advice, no attorney-client relationship created. All right. If you do need legal advice, you are going to consult an attorney in your jurisdiction, and preferably one that knows about your specific business and industry or industries. All right. I got my notes together. There we go already. Before I go on my tangents, you know how I do. I really like to share a lot of information with you, but I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I just want you to be aware of these. We'll go into more in extensive depth with these in later videos and content. Okay, the 10. 1, business structure. All right, so this is how your business is structured. The 4 that we normally know about are sole proprietorships, partnerships, LLCs, and corporations. Quick rundown. Sole proprietorship, right? That's the one that least amount of work to do, easiest, one person, single, sole, right? The problem with that is the liability. You are liable for anything that happens in your business. Personally liable, okay? There is no protection. Whatever you have, if something happens, it will be exposed to having to be used to compensate someone if that is the case, okay? Now, let me tell you right now, and you hear me say this all the time, you are in an industry that affects someone's life. It's a life-changing industry. It is a life-affecting industry. It is a life and death industry, yes, because there can be substantial bodily harm, all right, and even death, all right, depending on what your area is in the fitness industry. You could be affecting someone's mental health. Again, bodily injury. We know about this with fitness studios. We're talking about coaching with mental health. You're also collecting people's data, maybe definitely when you're intaking for a couple things, but even if you're doing wearable tech and the like, foods, allergies, all kind of things. So you can affect someone's actual livelihood, their life. A lot of liability within that. So sole proprietorship, not for you, not for you. You do what you want. Personal liability, that's all I'm going to say. This is a high risk industry, okay? So insurance can only carry you so far, and I don't even know if they insure you too well if you do not have a higher business structure. I call the higher ones the ones that give you a little bit, at least a tiny bit of limited liability. So kind of scratch sole proprietorship off your list. And we'll go into these more later. Partnership, more than one person, partner together. Please have your agreements in place, because speaking of liability, and there are different types. There's a limited liability partnership, a limited partnership, and just a general partnership. But do know this, regardless, agreement. You must have an agreement written, all of the elements that need to be in there, because your partner can do something that will hold you responsible for their actions, whether you know about it or not, depending on what your agreement says, and you will be liable for what someone else does. So if they go off and do something crazy, guess what? You're responsible. Limited liability company. Oh my God, the LLC, right? Get an LLC, they tell you. Yeah, okay. LLCs create limited liability. Make sure you treat your business as a business, or that limited liability goes away. We'll talk about that much more later. If you are a single member if you're a single member LLC, some states recognize that, some don't. The IRS still considers you sole proprietorship, but for liability's sake, you do have that protection as long as you treat your business as a business. Corporation. Everybody, you shy away from the corporations, but depending on your goals, how much money you're bringing in, what your business is, that might be your best option. Yes, it's a lot more work, because you actually have to make sure that you're following all the rules that are required for corporations. If you have to have officers, stocks, meetings, and the like. Yeah, it's some work, but it may work best for you. But we know what we're going to do with this. With these business structures, the information, we have questions and all of that. Yes, you're going to ask your attorney, but who you need to talk to most is an accountant, a financial advisor, bookkeeper, of which I am neither. I do not give financial advice, okay? And this is not even legal advice. This is just for educational purposes only. So you are going to consult the professional that you need for your business. Make sure you let them know what you're doing, what you plan to do, okay? Because all of these structures, within them, there are, the issue of how much liability you are responsible for, how much you are protected with, as well as taxation. And yeah, you want to know how much you have to pay. So accountant, bookkeeper, financial advisor, someone I am not, someone you will consult when you are considering starting your business, or if you need to kind of revise what you have already started. All right, that was just one. We have 10. Okay, number 2, contracts. Oh my God, we're going to be here all day if I have to talk about contracts. But I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to say that you must have robust, sound, full element, everything that needs to be in there, contracts, okay? Airtight contracts. Not, hi, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, sign my name. There better be X, Y, and Z, because, and then this happens, this doesn't happen, and this happens, and this happens. Yes, I'm moving my hands around because you're going to need to have all of that in your contracts. Make sure that, of course, they are written. It's important. They are written out, but that they have the information that everybody knows what they're responsible for and that they actually agree to. And these contracts, there's several type of contracts. You're talking about contracts with like your partners, vendors, suppliers, membership agreement contracts, right? Whoever you are engaging, interacting, transacting with, you're going to have contracts with. So you want to make sure that the terms are in there about who's doing what they're supposed to do, when it's supposed to be done, and how you know that it has been done and the contract has been effected, completed, the like. Okay? So, very important. Contracts, again, we're talking about just the different types of transactions with the different people, but sometimes when we're talking about contracts too, we'll talk about policies. You're not thinking about that, but your actual policies are contracts, right? Even your little rules that you may have on your studio, like these are the studio rules, you know, don't come in 5 minutes or something before the class starts or whatever. That is a contract that someone must agree to, because what if they don't do that? What happens? You're saying that they're in violation of the rules, okay? But do they know they're in violation? Are they in agreement that that is what they're supposed to do, okay? Same thing as if you have like online communities for your group or whatever, they have to agree to the code of conduct. Those are contracts as well. And going back to online, your privacy policy, terms of services, terms and conditions, and the like, contracts, okay? So those must be in place. Think about those. So have these. This is like a little checklist. That's all this is. Number 3, looking at my list. One of my favorites, waivers. Waivers. Hear me. Waivers are for more than just fitness studios, okay? And you definitely need to have those. Again, bodily harm, that people know that working out is a inherent risk, and it could cause death. So don't be afraid to say that. Make sure you always say that you know that working out can cause death, and you agree that by working out in my facility or with me or whatever I'm doing, that you agree and understand that you could die, okay? Very important that they know and they agree to. But there are so many different type of waivers and releases and the like, and you want to make sure, and like photo releases, okay? And things like that, that you may even see when someone comes to your studio, or if anything that you're doing, whatever type of business you have, and that you are taking, you know, some type of photo, anything that has their likeness in it, their image, their voice, and the like, okay, that you get releases for that. All right. And that's a different thing between assignments of rights, okay, which are contracts. So, but somebody is releasing you from liability when you are thinking about waivers. We'll talk about that more later, but you must have waivers. That must be on your radar. Okay, licenses. So we were talking about businesses. Of course, you need to make sure, depending on your type of business and what industry you're in, to have licenses. And it could be a federal type of license that you may need, a state license, or it could be like your local municipality, a county or town license, to make sure you should consult all 3. If you're in Chicago, they will tell you what licenses you need to have. So, and do understand that Chicago has special licenses. And if you're in Cook County, which is all of Chicago, but maybe if you're in a different county, you're in Illinois, it doesn't apply to you. You're in Cook County, and specifically if you're in Chicago, you better pay attention to what Chicago is asking for, because they will find a way to fine you and shut you down after they find you a couple times, you know. Just saying. We are trying to be compliant and protected so we can stay open for the long run and make positive impact. We can't do that if we're closed, or if we're spending all the money we need to build our business on paying fines. So we're doing none of that. All right. So licenses that are required by a government entity, and then licenses that may be required by your specific industry for whatever you're doing. A little different from certifications. We'll talk about that in a second, but make sure you have the licenses. And here's another license that you may not think of. You need a music license. So we're going to talk about that type of license too. So think about that. If you are offering music in your facility or online, and this depends, it doesn't depend. It doesn't just apply to like fitness studios and the like. you have a space where you're inviting people in, so you may do fitness apparel, your food spaces or so, and you are playing music, make sure you have the appropriate licenses. And there are different licenses that are needed for physical spaces versus things that are online. They may not be the same, so you need to know which licenses. Of course, we'll talk about that in another time, but we're talking about licenses. Make sure you have that in your little checkbox to make sure that you're looking at and see what applies for your business. All right. Insurance. Everyone must have insurance, okay? And if you have a team, employees, and the like, so say you're a fitness studio owner, you have insurance, you're going to have insurance for the building, right? You are going to have insurance that covers your instructors, yes. And we'll talk about that, but you want to make sure that you're classifying your instructors correctly. Employees. Generally, most of the time, I'm going to tell you, you have employees. You do not have independent contractors, but always depends on your situation. I would always err toward the employee. I know it's more money, but in the long run, protection, pay little now so you don't pay a lot or pay with everything later. Going back to that. So if you have employees or a team, you have workers' comp, right? You don't want to get out of workers' comp, okay? You have to have workers' comp. So we're talking about liability insurance, and liability insurance for your physical place or space, and then personal liability insurance, okay? And that would be, like if you're an instructor, you need to have liability insurance for being that professional. So I'm saying professional liability insurance. So physical, general space. Then there's a whole thing with errors and omissions. We're online now. Cybersecurity, insurance. What you need to do is speak with your insurance agent, and preferably one, again, this is just like, with your lawyers and your financial advisors, but really definitely two with insurance. And this is important that they know your industry, because there's specific insurance that you need based on what type of business you have. So there's going to be a little different insurance that might be needed for someone who has a personal training studio versus somebody who has a spin studio versus somebody who has a really big box studio that has everything in it, or something with equipment versus someone who has like a dance studio, okay? If you have a swimming pool, I'm going to tell you, you're going to have a lot more insurance needs than maybe if you have a dance studio that holds 50 people, okay? So really let your insurance agents know what you're doing currently, what you plan to do, what's all involved, so that you protect yourself. And if you have a physical location, regardless of what you're doing within this industry, it should be a hybrid model. You should have some type of e-commerce if you are selling goods. If you're doing services, if you're a fitness studio, you should have online as well as physical location, all right? It's the way of the industry right now. You don't have to, but hybrid models, beneficial. We'll put it that way. All right. Certifications. I'm just going down my list here if you see me. Certifications. Up to date. Have the correct ones for your industry. Fitness certifications. No one should be teaching anything in your studio without being certified, and hopefully nationally certified, okay? You want like a ACE, NASM, NASM. I know American College in Medicine. I'm just trying to think of the other ones because ACSM. Well, that whoever has emerged, whatever. But just to make sure it's accredited and a national one. And yes, everyone can have like little specialty certifications. That's great, but do your best to make sure that people are nationally certified by a recognized and accredited certification. If you're doing food services, maybe you need to be certified to do that. If there are special certifications that you need, that your industry requires for you to create and offer the goods and services, you need to have those. You need to make sure that they're up to date. Know what certifications are required by your industry. Okay, again, food service, there may be different ones. That could be at a federal, it could be at a state and a local municipal level. So make sure on your list, on the radar, what needs to be had, and make sure that it stays up to date. All of these things I'm talking about too, renewal. Do not forget to renew, okay? In my community, we always do a check-in and check it off because there's a lot that we have to do. We want to make sure that our to-do list, we are checking off renewals because we don't want to get fined or we don't want things to expire, okay? Because that messes up what protections you think you do have with insurance, and you think you have your LLC. You haven't renewed in 2 years and it was due in 1 year. You do not have your LLC anymore and you do not have that limited liability protection. So while I'm saying all of this and we are putting little notes down, do remember dates are important. You are going to always set that up, but make sure that you put renewal on the sides for all of these things that may be due. Okay, what do we, my favorite, intellectual property. Why am I clapping like this? Because I love it. But intellectual property, make sure that you are doing a couple of things, all right? Knowing what intellectual property you have, very, 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 very important. And then you are going to protect it. So secure it. Register it as needed, okay? Making sure there are certain things like copyright, you get the protection as soon as it is created, but you have to put people on notice. People, no one knows what you're doing, okay? It's just like marketing. Believe me, I know this. I do a lot of stuff and I don't tell people about it. You know what happens when they don't know that you do it. They don't know that you have it, all right? Same thing. You don't put people on notice. They don't know it's yours. They don't know that you're trying to protect it. So things like copyright, you're going to put that copyright symbol on it. Even if you have not registered your trademark and it is something that is distinct, you own, and doesn't infringe on someone else, you're going to put that TM symbol on it because you will be claiming common law rights. Yes, we will talk about all of this later, but these are things that on your radar you need to know. Okay, so again, register, or at the very least, put people on notice that you are claiming rights to this intellectual property. Really quick, 4 intellectual properties that you need to know about. There are patents, inventions, methodologies, and things like that. Trademarks, indicators, basically, these things. These are like your name, your logo. There are color, scent, and sound trademarks, and even design packaging. Another day, but indicators that you are the source of these products and services. Then there's copyright, there's creation of creative works, right? And that can include choreography. Yes, choreography. So, about music, but choreography, and definitely things that you may have if you have written down like a blueprint of how things to be frameworks. Sometimes we talk about those aren't quite methodologies that can be patent, but it's just things that are not form, okay? They do have some kind of creative aspect to them. Then you are going to make sure that you put people on notice and you get it registered, okay? And then trade secrets. And those come into being a lot more than you think they do. So you want to make sure that you have non-disclosure agreements when you need to have them. But particularly in different industries, and we're talking about, maybe the tech, the wearable tech, the foods, equipment, and the like, that you do have trade secrets, in particular with your the type of goods that, and maybe services that you provide. So know those four, be aware of them, know what intellectual property you have, put people on notice, get it registered. But none of that means anything. You can get your mark registered all you want to, okay? Federal, it's all paid for, everything. You got your little digital certificate. You're like, oh, I have my trademark registered. Means nothing if you are not monitoring it and letting anyone just misuse and abuse it. You're not letting people know how to use your mark so that it is not misused or diluted or damaged. So who cares that you got it registered? You're letting anything and everything happen to it, and the whole purpose is so that you protect it. All right, but it's all over the place, not being protective and exclusive to you. Everybody's using it because you're not monitoring it. And then even if you are monitoring it, and guess what, you're like, yeah, I see it happening, but I'm not going to do anything right now. And in some situations, it always depends. But if you're going to do that and not enforce when you see something happen, then you're just letting things go. You are not keeping it exclusive to yourself. You're not protecting it. And therefore, you're losing your rights. So you want to maintain your rights. You want to protect it, because if you think about it, particularly with trademarks, that's your name. That's your reputation. Somebody messes that up, I don't care how great your goods and services are, your name is trash. All right. So you'd have to rebuild up that name. And why? That's just more work. That's more money. You are going to do what? Monitor and enforce to get full protection. Okay. Ooh, we are on 7, so I'm surprised. How many minutes? 26. I'm doing great. Trying to get in here with 30, but this one's going to be hard because I'm going into regulatory laws. You know, I am all about compliance. I love compliance. I love compliance because you need to know how much and what you can do. It's not necessarily how much you can't do or being stopped from doing something. You need to know what you are able to do, not what you're prevented from doing, what you are able to do. Think of it that way. Think of it positively, and then stay within those boundaries, please. All right, so regulatory laws. This is where there's a lot of you don't know what you don't know, but this is where you get in trouble. Okay, so we're going to talk about, it depends on your industry, fitness industry. No, it's not really regulated that much per se as like, fitness instructors. There's not really a national regulation, but there is a lot of regulation in the fitness industry. It is not a fully unregulated industry at all. It just depends on where you are and what you're doing in the industry. So depending on what your goods and services are within the fitness industry, you may be regulated by a couple of things. And regardless of what your business is, the FTC, if there is anything you need to be aware of, is what is going on in the FTC. And there's a million things. I'm just going to give you a couple of things that you need to know. Simple, everyone who's online. Okay. There are laws. I know we call these social media laws or whatever, but it's just laws on what the heck you can say. Things have to be truthful. You have to tell people if you're being endorsed or if you're being sponsored by someone, and endorsements and the things like that, disclaimers. You need to disclaim things. You need to talk about like an earnings disclaimer. So if you have something, or we'll go into FDA too, that's a Food and Drug Administration too, but don't say that your product can do X, Y, and Z, and it doesn't. You always see those, and you're like, well, it's not necessarily FDA approved that you can lose weight if you just look at the bottle of my product too. I'm like, okay. boo on that. So yes, especially for any of you all, something edible that goes and supplements and all of that. There's a lot of regulation there. What was the one? Okay, then, earnings disclaimers. If you're coaching or something, that's usually for like coaching people, but things that you can really supposedly help people with. Definitely if it's anything financial. And again, with your health, you can lose weight on this. This helps do that. Regulated. Okay. Same thing when we're talking about your privacy policies. You must have those. That is not an option. It's not negotiable. You got online, anything, privacy policy. You need to have protocols in for about how you collect, distribute, share, keep, store people's information, and particularly what information you collect. And let me tell you, privacy law is changing by the minute. Even California, and we'll talk about that for if you're online and you think, I don't really have to deal with people in the European Union for the GDPR. Your site is online, and whether you put something on like I'm only talking to people in the US, you do need to say that, and then say if this is prohibited in your country territory, then you should not be accessing this. I'm not allowing you to access blah, blah, blah. We'll get into that another day. But you got to understand that whatever you're doing when you're online is global. It is global. So you want to get the most protection that you can. So I generally say, hey, try to have your privacy policies comply with the GDPR rights in the EU. But at the least, if you're in the US, I'm going to tell you, this is what I tell everyone, have your privacy law comply with whatever's in California. California does not play. I mean, oh my goodness, they have some laws on the books. Love them to death. They keep me busy. People are like, what'd you read today? I'm like, I don't know, some from California. That's all I know, because they just enacted something else, or, they have something that they want you to stay within the boundaries of, right? So California, with their privacy law, that is, I think, the most restrictive one. And if it's not, it's about to be, because there are specific things that you need to do with people's information. And if they're asking you for it and where it is, just in general, this is business practice. You need to know where people's information is going. If you're collecting it and storing it, you should know what you're doing, where it's going, okay? But they're asking for it. They have the right to ask for it, and they may have the rights, depending whether or not you can, they can ask you to take it down, definitely to opt out of some things, but to take down that information and, delete it and the like. So I mentioned that because this is February 2024 when I am creating this video, which is already 3 minutes over. But in March, then there will be, there's a CCPA, and then it will be enhanced. But there will be more boundaries, restrictions, regulations with the CPRA, California Privacy Rights Act. There we go. We'll have a separate session on that, so don't worry about it. All right. What was I going to say? Oh, here's another one that people don't know about. We will talk about this, but because it's prevalent a lot in the fitness industry, is subscriptions, right? Renewals, monthly renewals. Yeah, like you want your members to renew each month, where there are laws about that too, especially if you're providing a trial and then you're charging someone if they don't cancel. So these are almost like opt-ins, but you're not telling people that they are opting in, or that you've already checked the box for them on your little forms that you have, and the box is already checked. And that's even if it's like the boxes that check saying that they agree to your privacy laws, or they agree to get marketing information. And marketing information, your email is marketing information. Okay, so that is advertising. Please know that the emails you send out, tips or not, advertising, considered advertising. And if you have that box already checked saying they agree to it, and particularly if they cannot uncheck that box, but please do your best not to have that box already checked. And the beauty of software right now, right? It's so amazing. It allows us to do so many things. It allows us to do so many automated things to automate our businesses, but you got to watch what you are using, because those things that help make your life easier right now, your business flow a little bit better, can bite you in the buns afterwards, because they are so helpful. They're just a little too helpful with already having that box checked. So make sure even when you automate that things are in compliance. That was a lot, but I really wanted to put those on your radar, because those are a lot of the times the things that I see really come from regulations, not knowing if they really apply to you, and then just thinking they don't apply to you. Okay, knowing about it, understanding what they are, sort of thinking they don't apply to you, and then just deciding that it's not worth it. Oh, then you're saying your business isn't worth it. You're saying you aren't worth it. You're saying your clients and customers aren't worth it. And we don't say that. So we're going to comply. Moving along. Number 9, finances. Because that's another thing I could talk about all day. All right, money matters. You just know about money. Put this on your radar. Like, know what's coming in, what's going out. Know the difference between revenue and profit, okay? Have a budget for things. I will go on and on. You think legal is crazy? Oh my goodness. If I could talk to you about financial issues where people don't even have budgets, or they don't know where money is coming in from, which is fine. It's not fine. I mean, they think it's fine because there's money coming in. Well, why is it coming in? And is it going to stop? Like, if you're relying on that money and you don't know where it's coming in or why it's coming in. And yes, this is true. People do not know this. And some of you are like, yes. So know where it's coming in, and you darn sure better know where it's going to, okay? And why, okay? Always know what's going on in your business, and definitely what's going on with your money, whether it's flowing in or flowing out, wherever it's going. And also with money, what did I want to say? Oh, when we were talking about the liability protection, please no commingling. Please no commingling. Please listen to, do not commingle your personal and business funds. None of that. Okay. It's so easy to keep them separate. It's so easy. All right. I will give you tips on that another day. Just do not put those together for anything. All right, you heard me on that. Guess what? Number 10, thank goodness, because where are we at? 37. Typical. You know how I like to talk. Maybe I'll break these up. Maybe not. Fast forward for what you need. I'll put maybe something on there, some headlines or whatever. Right now, number 10. We're on our way out of here. Oh, so this is very helpful. This is do frequent audits of your business. And I don't mean once every 3 to 4 or 5 years. I'm not even talking about every year. Yes, do a very big annual audit. You're going to do a quarterly audit. If you're just starting out, I'm going to ask that you do a monthly audit. Again, you need to know what's going on in your business. Like I said, in our community, we do a check in, check off. What is due this month? What do we need to know about this month? What's going on? What's on our to-do list? How's our company doing? All right. This is something that I recommend for all businesses because it helps you stay compliant. It helps keep you protected. If you're following the law, sometimes you have to look. Again, I just told you about California having an update in March. So we're in February. You're fine. March. Now you have to have, a way that people can contact you and to get their information taken down, things that apply to employees that didn't apply before, didn't apply in February 29th, 2024. Yes, I know it's a leap year. Don't start with me. And then March 1st, totally different things. So these are things you need to know. We will even talk about the beneficial owner information from the Corporate Transparency Act. That's a thing you need to know about. That's new. That just started in January. All right. So you stay up to date. You talk to your attorney, right? They got you. In any case, going back to KPIs. Again, these are your key performance indicators. That's what I'm trying to say. And we just talked about this with finance. You got money coming in. You got things going on. How are things performing? You know me. What do I say? Do we keep it? Do we tweak it? Do we trash it? All right. You need to know. You need to know what is working for you. Because if you're spending money on something that doesn't work for you, it is not only not working for you, but it is bringing you down. And we don't want to be brought down. We want to rise. We want to rise. Yes, we do. So know your key performance indicators. What's working well? What isn't? You keep it if it's working well. If it's doing good for you, that's your keeper. You tweak it if you need to, modify, adjust it a little bit. Maybe it's okay. It could be doing better or the like. If it is just killing your whole business vibe, everything, causing you all kind of problems, just not working, causing you money unnecessarily, some things are going to cost you money, in the beginning. But if it is draining you in any way, emotionally, physically, financially, we're going to trash that as much as we can. All right, those are your 10 things really quick. So if you fast forward it, I got your 10 essential legal considerations. And some of that, a lot of things that are legal, but it's business, right? That's why this is for educational purposes only. But these are things that you just must do in your business. And yes, you must comply with, because that is just good business practice. All right. Number one, making sure you have the right business structure for your type of business and the goals. All right. Contracts. Have airtight contracts. Make sure you have contracts with everyone that you are doing business with and transacting with, okay? And especially if money is passing, you're going to have that airtight contract, okay? Waivers, you're going to make sure that, I know you think you have your limited liability, but you're going to get the most protection. You're going to let people know what you are not protecting them from, and you're going to let them know and make sure that they agree to release you from any liability, okay? Very important. Licenses, you want to make sure that you have all of the required licenses for whatever you are doing, and those are government licenses. It could be industry-related licenses. Remember, I talked about music licenses and a lot. Insurance, you're going to have the correct insurance. You're going to let your insurance agent know what you're doing, what you plan to do, so that you are properly insured, okay? You want to be protected as much as possible, all right? Certifications, you want to make sure that you have the right certifications. You have all of the certifications. And again, everything that I'm talking about, licenses, anything that you're required to have. If there is a renewal date, that you are making sure that everything is up to date, renewed, and hasn't expired. Otherwise, you do not have it and you are not protected. All right, the next one is your IP. You are going to make sure that you stay protected. You're going to know what rights you have, and then you are going to secure those rights, and you're going to monitor and enforce those rights. All right, so it's part of when you hear me talk about brand management and protection. This is all brand management and protection. That is your intellectual property management and protection. All right, regulatory laws, you're going to know about them. You're going to know which ones apply to you, what's happening with them, how they're changing, because these are just things you need to know so that your business can function and be successful and endure. All right. And then money matters. You are going to make sure that you know where money is coming from, where it's going, and you are going to definitely make sure that you keep your business and personal expenses separate. All right. And 10, you are going to make sure to analyze and understand and keep track of what's going on in your business. So you're going to know your KPIs, your key performance indicators. You're going to know what you are going to keep, what you're going to tweak, and what you're going to trash, okay? So you're going to know what's going on in your business and how to improve upon it and to grow and have sustainable growth. And with that, those are my 10. And again, we will go over each of these in much more detail, okay? I gave you a lot, but we'll go over these in much more detail at another time. Until then, as always, cups up. Cheers to your success, to a wonderful, amazing, extraordinary brand experience that you are creating that inspires and endures. And guess what? We'll chat soon. If you have any comments, you're going to send them in a DM. You need to talk to me because you're like, ooh, I got a question right away. I need some help. You get a 20-minute consultation. So schedule that. I have Q&As, all the like. Subscribe, like. You know how to reach me. fitpowerfully.com if you need to find out otherwise. Contact me. But until then, again, take care. Cheers to your success, and we'll chat soon.